So this is a remake with Izuku. Um, I just we just too many errors in that mud for me, and I just couldn't. I was just like nah, cause I was messing up Drake and Great Red, and yeah, nah. Anyways, yeah, let's get started. Actually, I'm not go or I guess I just redo all of it. Actually, fuck that. We uh we start off where Izuku is falling down from the sky as he crashes down. He crashes. Oh my bad. He crashes down near the orc room, the ORC. Um, as actually, and the harem is gonna stay the same. Well, it's not really a harem, but gonna go in office. But yeah, he crashes down as and his quirks is basically gonna stay the same. The adaptation. He has the black whip, flow, one for all. You know, the mist quirk. Um, it's like more fog than mist. But yeah. I probably throw in the other quirks to make them overpowered because not gonna hold you. That DXD verse, yeah, that motherfucker strong. So yeah. Anyways, let's keep going. So yeah, as he crashes down in the like near the ORC room, Rias, Sona, and both of them like run out. Basically see what that was as they see Zuku, green haired boy, as they see his like that, but he's in his village vigilante costume. Well, not even costume, hero vigilante suit. Ain't no fucking costume. As a as a they basically pick him up and like disappear to the underworld. As a they they get to like to Serzek's place, and they uh they get to Serzek's place as they ask him that do you know who this is? As they say no, Serzek says no, I don't know who that is, and he says like why'd you bring him here? As Rhea says he fell from the sky and we don't know where he came from. I don't sense any like or like demonic or angelic or fallen presence from him. As he says no, well, I'm not sure. As he says lay him in the hospital bed and we'll get to him when he wakes up. As we're gonna time skip to when he wakes up. As Izuku, he wakes up to see a red haired man. Or actually no. He wakes up to see a red haired little boy. As the little boy runs out the room as Izuku wakes up, saying, Father, Father, that man is up. As Serzek's, I'm pretty sure that's Serzek's son. Pretty sure. Serzek's, My bad. Surzex, you know, he walks in the room as, he asks Izuku, basically, like, what are you doing here? What's your name? Who are you? As Izuku, he basically just looks at Surzex and asks, where am I? As Surzex says, you're in the underworld. As he says, I died. As Surzex says, no, you're in the human world and we brought you here. As Surzex says, you fell from the sky. Izuku gets up and says, I need to get back. I need to get back to the fight. Or else everyone's gonna die. As, he says, what are you talking about? Like, you appeared from nowhere. As, we're gonna say, Sona, he says, Surzex says, maybe someone else can help you out. I'm not as intelligent as Sona. Let me go get her. As, a few moments later, Sona walks in the room. As she sees there's a green mask boy or person. As, he says, okay. He's strong as shit, okay? And most of the shit I'm finna say is basically just plot. I'm not gonna lie. So just bear with me. He says the pressure around me doesn't feel the same. It feels heavier. As Sona says, yes, that's because you're in the underworld. I'm pretty sure Surzex mentioned that to you. As he says, he did. As he says, just take me back to the earth so I can finish my battle. As he says, if not, everyone's gonna die. As, they're all looking at him crazy, saying, there's no one fighting. We would have felt there. We would have felt that shit. As Izuku, he's kind of like, why don't you believe me? Just take me back up there now. As he gets up, as Surzex says, hey, sit down, you need the rest. As he says, I face greater injuries than this, I'm fine. As he walks out the room, as they tell him, basically, come back. As he sees, we're gonna say he sees Rias. As they lock eyes. As he basically teleports behind her, and he has her in a chokehold. As he says, take me back now. Oh wait, fuck, I forgot he's a hero. God damn it. Oh. Anyways, this plot, it doesn't matter. He says, take me back now, or I'm gonna end her. As Surzex wasn't having that shit. He was finna destroy this nigga, but Sona says, basically tells him to wait. As she says, I can feel it in you. You never, or she says, I feel it. I just know, when you can just tell. She says, you won't hurt her. As Izuku drops Rias, saying, just take me back. As Sona says, I don't think, as she asks Surzex, is there any chance that he could have came from a different place other than Earth? As he says, Surzex asks, what does he mean? As he says, a different universe or something, like Trihexa did. And this one, the story is taking place we're gonna say Trihexa came earlier. He came before Issei showed up. He came that time, and But like he came in the past. Let me say that. Like when Rias and them wasn't born, and yeah, when really we just Surge X and their great powers and everybody was strong as shit, and just like soloed that nigga. So I don't know about soloing, but yeah, they barely won. And yeah. Anyways, the Ags like the same dimension Trihexa came from. As they look at Izuku as Sir Zex says no, he would have been stronger. I don't feel like I hardly feel any demonic presence from him. As she says, she they like ask Izuku, do they like what was the explain what was going on in like his planet basically. As Izuku's like he sighs as he says I don't have time for this. As he basically quickly explains the quirks, how they work, and stuff like that. As Sona nods her head saying, as I thought, you come from a different universe or galaxy of some sort. Maybe a different timeline. Or maybe you were sent in the past or future. I am not 100% sure. As Sona says, well, Izuku says, what do you mean? As Sona tilts her glasses up. As she says, well, according to my knowledge, you have no memory of this world, and we have no memory of the earth you're talking about, so it's only right that you didn't come from this earth. As he says, he basically like, okay, can you get me back? Can you get me back to that earth? As she says, I don't think that is possible. The only person who's ever been able to dimension hop is 3 people: Ophis, Great Red, and Trihexa. 3 beings in God. 4 beings you probably don't even know. As he says, well, he says one of them is dead. So that just leaves 2. Well, that just leaves 3. As, you know, they basically just Izuku, he just says, so there's no way for me to get back. As Sona nods, shakes her head, no. As she says, as of now, you're stuck here. As Izuku, he like falls down on his knees and cries. He doesn't cry, but it's just like, he just like sits there. Just knowing everyone is going to die. As Izuku, he asks that, you know, he asks what do I do? As she says, well, I'm not sure. You could, she says, you could become a devil and learn our ways. Or we can just erase your memories about this and you can just, we can just forget it ever happened. And we'll send you back to the human world. As Izuku, he says, no, I don't want to become a devil. Neither do I want my memory erased. As we see He says, I want to talk to that Ophis being, or that Great Red, or even Trihexa. As he says, you know, they're like, what the fuck? They they just look at him. As she says that those are the three strongest beings in the universe. You're like, there's no, like, bruh, come on, fam. As, you know, they just look at her. I mean, they just look at Izuku. As Izuku, he says, I need to talk to them. Maybe I can find a way. As Sona says, or Cerzeric says, I could try, but I'm telling you right now that it's not going to be guaranteed. As Izuku, he nods his head saying, okay. As basically, they just, from there, they go sit down at the table, and they like walk in the and Issei is in a peerage as of now. He's in a peerage. Just let you know. As of now, they walk in the Cerzek's, you know, the diner, like the table, the eating room table. As they all sit down, Riz, her peerage, Sona, her peerage, and Cerzek's in his wife grave. Izuku. Well, Riz says, like, Issei, as they're walking, Issei, he activates his boosted gear. As he says, actually, no, I'm not gonna do that. Never mind. They sit down on the table as they ask, like, basically, like, skinny nigga, I got some money. They ask basically, well, they basically tell him about the supernatural, devils, angels. They just explain it all to him. As Cerzek says, I feel something. I'm not sure if anybody else feels it, but it's like when I felt, or it's like when, when we first felt Issei's power. As Rias, he says, so a sacred gear. As, they look at each other. As they say, maybe. It could be something else, though. Who knows? As Izuku says, well, since you've told me so much about you, like y'all, I guess I'll tell you about me. As he stands up saying, I am Izuku Midoriya, and on my Earth, we were fighting a war, and he says we were fighting a war, and I was this close to killing the villain that was basically started it. As he says, and I just came crashing down from the sky. As she says, Sona asks, what are your quirks that you mentioned? As he says, it's a handful. As he says, I don't want to explain all of them, but he says I can teleport. As he just like moves around quickly without the magic circle, as they are like, what? As he says, he shows them the mist shit, and he says, that's all I'm willing to, reveal right now, as I don't really know you. you people. As no, they asked him like, does he want to take his mask off? As he says no. As bro, the plot armor in MHA is crazy. I mean, not the plot armor, the fucking character development of the Izuku, bro. It's just wild, fam. Like, this nigga went from, like, a nigga who cry. Not even that this nigga cry. Because this nigga's, like, 15, saving the world. 16 years old, saving the world. Nigga was 12, going stupid, bro. Like, 14 years old, beating the shit out of overhaul. And muscular, bro. Like, oh, my God. Bro. He was crazy, fam. And nigga was in 9th grade doing this shit, bro. Come on, fam. Like, he's certified. He's a certified G-stepper, man. Like, bruh. Anyways, back to the video. Izuku. He says, what are you guys' powers? As they all look at each other. As Ria stands up saying, my name is Ria's Gimri. We've already met. As, you know, he apologizes. Izuku apologizes for threatening her. And she says it's fine. And she says she explains her power of destruction. As she says, this is my peerage. And my family. As, you know, she explains, she says, this is Izuku. He is my pawn, and, you know, he has the boosted draconic gear. As she says, this is Akina, my queen, and she's known as the Queen of Lightning. As she says, Kiba, my knight, and he's very, very strong with his sword. And Kaneka, my rook. As Kaneko and Izuku lock eyes through the mask. As Kaneko looks away. As Izuku, I'm pretty sure that's her whole peers, right? Oh, Jasper, but that nigga not in here yet. I'm pretty sure that's everybody, yeah. And he says, and my bishop, I'm pretty sure. I think it was a mutated bishop or a bishop. I think it was a regular bishop. He says, my bishop piece, Asia. She has like the legendary, like healing sacred gear. I forgot the name. As Izuku, he says, what about you? As he points at Sona. As she says, my name is Sona Citri. And she basically explained like everybody's peerage. I mean, her peerage. I'm not gonna say because I don't know them niggas. I'm not gonna hold you. Only thing I know is the I forgot his name. But yeah, anyways. She explains her peerage as, you know, they go on as they say, like, well, like, in the meantime, while we try to get in contact, Serzek says, in the meantime, while we try to get in contact with Grey Raider Office, you can stay here and get to know them, I guess. As, you know, she says, I'm pretty sure, Ria says, yes, today's Friday, and no one should know we're missing. As she says, we have the week off, so we should be fine. As Izuku, he nods his head saying okay. As he asks, what does he mean? He asked Serzix, what did he mean when he meant that he felt the power inside of him? As he says, you can feel it. As Serzix says yes. As he says okay. As he teleports away to, let's say, a room where he senses no one's presence. As he says, now I gotta think of a fucking name, bro. Oh my god. I ain't even gonna hold you. Bro. Ooh, Arlo. Yeah, I guess. He says, Arlo, they can hear you. Or they can feel your presence. As Izuku. Izuku, he says, I know. Or at least the king. Or he says the red-haired man can, and maybe that red-haired girl, but the other ones can't. As he says, do you think I'll be able to awaken your power now? As Arlo says, maybe. You've been training ever since you were little too. But it wasn't enough. Maybe since you're in this dimension, you will. As Izuku says, okay. As he walks back out and goes back to the dining area, he says, sorry, I had to use the restroom. As, they all look at him saying, okay. As we're going to say, we time skip a couple days. As Rias and her page and Izuku are in the, we're going to say they're at Rias' house. Well, not Rias', Issei's house. As, and the harem just started. So I'm pretty sure at the beginning, the only person who didn't like Issei was Konoko. And I'm pretty sure everybody else liked him but Konoko, if I'm not mistaken. And I think Akane fell for him like a little bit later. By the same time, she kind of, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. But I'm pretty sure because Konoko, she didn't like perverts. So, yeah. But, as time went on and, he had saved her sister. And, yeah. That's when she started liking him. Yeah. She didn't like the nigga right now. And she never will. Because she gonna have my nigga Izuku Midori. As Izuku, he's sitting down on Issei's couch talking to his parents. As they're just having like small talk. As Konoko is sitting there. As Izuku looks at her saying, aren't you one of his girlfriends? As she looks at him and says, no, he's a pervert. I hate perverts. As he says, oh, okay. As Issei's mom, I forgot her name too, not gonna hold you. I be listening to all these goddamn Issei what ifs, and I be forgetting their names. Anyways, Issei's mom, she says, well, I know my baby is a pervert, but I still love him. As she says, he's been through a lot recently, learning about the supernatural and things like that. As he says, I feel that you would be a great addition, to my son. Maybe you guys can become rivals or something. As he says, Izuku says, I seek, he says, I seek no rival. My rival was in my past life, and he's long gone now. As, they both, everyone looks at him. As she says, what about a love interest? Did you have a girlfriend? As Izuku got a slight blush as he says, there was someone, but with everything that was happening, I never actually got the chance. As he says, really, what was her name? As as he says her name was Ochako Uraka. As he says she was so bright and happy every time. And even when I messed up on my quirk or something happened, she was always there to support me when everything. And then off one came in and it all collapsed. As he says, they say, what do you mean collapse? As he says, never mind. As he says, it doesn't matter. I'm no longer in that world. As, Izuku, he feels, or not really feels, a red circle pops up in the middle of, a red circle pops up as Serzek says, Izuku, I've gotten a hold of Elvis. She wants to, or she says, she'll take your time, but if you waste it, then you'll never see her again. As Izuku says, okay. As they teleport in the circle. And by the way, Izuku, he has on different clothes now. They see they can see his face now. So yeah. Anyways, Izuku, he gets teleported in the room as he looks around. As he instantly feels Elvis' presence. Not presence, but power. As he feels it's it's almost close to his. Know what y'all saying? Bro, he's not that strong. Damn, the plot armor go crazy, bruh. Not gonna hold you. Anyways, he says, are you Ophis? As she says, what do you want? As he says, well, I came from another dimension and I was wondering if you could bring me back to that dimension. As Office says, I could, but what are you gonna do for me? What will I gain from this? As she senses his presence, his power. Let me say that, not his presence. She says, you have a demon inside of you. I feel his name is Arla, right? As Izuku's like, what the fuck? As he kind of like take a step back. As half of Izuku's eye, his left eye changes. As a distorted voice says, so you knew I was here and you know my name. That's impressive. As she says yes, she says, if it wasn't for him reading his thoughts, I would have never known his name. Or reading your thoughts, then I would have never known your name. As Izuku says, Arlo says that's pretty invasive, reading my host thoughts. As she shrugs her shoulders, saying, what can you do for me? As Izuku, Arlo lets Izuku take back control. As he says, I'll do anything, I just need to get back. As she says, okay then, you're going to help me defeat Great Red. As Cerzek says, what? That's impossible. As Office looks at him, as he just zoops, he shut the fuck up. As Izuku says, he says, if it needs to be done, then I'll do it. As, he says, if it needs to be done, I'll do it. As he sighs. As he says, when will we fight this Great Red? As she says, now you're not strong enough. Your power is similar to mine. Well, not yours, his. As she points basically Arlo's power. As Arlo says, or Izuku says, I haven't been able to awaken his power. I don't know why, but ever since we gotten here, his presence has gotten stronger. As she nods her head saying, yes, I know I felt it when you first came in here, when you fell down from the sky. As Izuku says, so you were watching me then? As she nods her head saying, me and Great Red were. As she says, that doesn't matter now. What I need you to do is take control and harness his power, and so I can take you and we can kill Great Red. As Izuku says, why do you want to kill him? Aren't you guys allies? As Office nods her head no, saying, he invaded my home and I'm going to kill him for it. As, she says, we're both dragons, but he's stronger than me, and I need someone to help me kill him and get him out of, or just remove him from my home. As she says, your home must be pretty big if it's for a dragon. As she says, yes, it's the dimensional gap. As, they look at it. Office, she says, I'll show you. As she takes Izuku there to the dimensional gap. As he, looks around. As he basically used float to stay up. And he says, he used float to stay up. And he says, oh, yeah, this is pretty big. As I probably got do 10 more minutes. I'm in this mud. Office says yes now. As they leave the dimensional gap, saying we don't want to anger him. Now I need you to hurry and get stronger. As she says, the quicker you get stronger, the quicker you go back to your universe, if you want to call it that. As she nods her head, saying, I will be seeing you, Izuku. As she disappears. As Sirzex, he says, so, there's a lot of things I just learned about you. As she says, so there's a demon inside of you, huh? As Izuku looks at Sirzex, saying, could you teleport me back to Issei's house? As he says, sure. As they see her at circle. And they, he teleports them back. I'm not gonna hold you. Or Izuku back. Anyways, Izuku, he comes back as, they say, basically what happened. As Izuku says, Office says she can get me back to my universe if I help her defeat Great Red. As Chronicle says, that's impossible. As he looks at her saying, what do you mean? As she says, Great Red hasn't been bruised in millennia. Even when the original Satan tried to kill him and God together, nothing worked. As he says, and how do you know this? As she says, stories and fairy tales. As Izuku says, yeah, I'll take my chances with Office. As Izuku, he says, but you never know. But I feel like I can trust her. As Kaneko says, be careful who you trust. Some people will stab you in your back. As Izuku says, who betrayed you? As Kaneko looks at him, and she kind of blankly stares at him. As he says, oh, sorry if I got too comfortable. As we hear Issei, Akano, Asia, and Rius. Basically, we'll say that we're upstairs, joking around. Not fucking, just chilling, cuddling, and stuff like that. Basically fighting over Issei's attention. And, yeah. Anyways. I'm not gonna leave it for that it's a bad ending. Issei, he comes down the stairs. As he says, he comes down the stairs. Reese and Akano comes down the stairs, not Issei. As they walk up to Konoko. Or we're gonna say it's more of Akano who does this. As she says, Konoko, you should get to know Issei. He's a very charming person. And she kind of giggles. As Konoko says, I don't like perverts. They disgust me. As, Izuku, she says, Konoko says all he likes is breast and ass and porn. As, Izuku is like, that's shameful. That's some shameful shit right now. As he says, As Ria says, come on, Akano. We've tried convincing her multiple times. She doesn't want his touch. And she says, and besides, 3 of us is enough. We don't need anyone else. As Ria runs upstairs back to Issei, screaming his name. As Akano says, wait for me. As Izuku looks at he looks at Konoko as he says, how long have they been trying to, get you to join them in whatever they're doing? As she shrugs her shoulders, saying, a little bit after, he joined the peerage. But I don't really like him. And she says, I've never seen eyes for anyone. As she says, but I do want to fall in love. It's just hard. Everyone around here are just weirdos and perverts. As Izuku says, yeah, I guess. As we time skip to... No. As Izuku, he says, Arlo, says in Izuku's head that, partner, we need to get up and train. If not, we'll never get back. As he says, Arlo says, or Izuku says, we will just, let's get to it now. As that's where I'm gonna end it off, where Arlo and Izuku is finna train. And yeah, I really like this version better than I did the first one. So yeah, this is basically remake part 1. I'll probably make part 2 later on today. Anyways, see y'all later.